Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we'll masech this Kiddushin daf Lamed Ches. We are going to begin on Lamed Zayin and Beis. We've been discussing the dinim of the mitzvos, what the laws are regarding which mitzvos do you have to keep everywhere, even in Chutz La'aretz, or those mitzvos which only pertain to Eretz Yisrael. And we have the discussion about Chadash. Bishlomo man di'armer Moishav. I can understand who says that when it says Moishav, Kol Makam Shatim Yoshvim Mashma, so it could mean in all places, wherever you live. Hainu Dechsev, that's why the pasuk says Yochel Me Avur Haaretz. This is the beginning of Sefer Yeshua, that they ate from when they went into the land, Mi Mecharas HaPesach, from the morrow of Pesach, Mi Mecharas HaPesach Ochel, Mikara Lo Ochel. It says on the morrow of Pesach they ate, but not before that. Says Rashi, U'moishav Nechsiv Gabi Chadash, when it says regarding Chadash, Lav Yerusha Yeshiva Asa, it's actually not coming to tell us that the mitzvah is only after Yerusha Yeshiva. That rather it's Chol Makayim Shiatim Yoshvim, which means that it's not dafka once you're in Eretz Yisrael, only after Yerusha Yeshiva, because it says Mimachar Sapasach. And why does it say it that way? It must be that you're allowed to eat it right away. Alma, what do we see? Actually, the Gemara is going to explain this now. In Lamed Chesed Aleph, we see Akurav Oimer v'Hadar Achol, that you needed to first bring the carbon, to bring the Omer, and then only afterwards you were allowed to eat. Now, why is that? It must be because there was this chiyuv applied of Chadash right away. I understand if the mitzvah of Chadash only took place after they were in Eretz Yisrael for 14 years, so then why does it say right away at the beginning of Sefer Yeshua, which is not talking about the first, it's not after the 14 years, it's talking about the beginning of them going into Eretz Yisrael, that it already says that it's only Mimacharas Pesach, so the day after Pesach, the morrow of Pesach. So why does it say it that way? Mashma, that you have to, there's a mitzvah of bringing the Omer, and then only afterwards you're allowed to eat the new grain. You're allowed to eat the grains. Why? Why is there an Isser Chadash? It must be a raya that when it says the word Moishav, it's referring to B'chol Makom Shatim Yoshvim, and therefore it's knowing all the time. Again, Lo Havit Sriche. So says Rashi, Shinistabku min Haman Shibikalehim. It completed, it was finished the mun that was in their kalim. The pasuk says, Nechsiv, Yubneso Ochel Saman Arboim Shana, that the Jewish people ate mun for a total of 40 years, and we're being exact. And then it says, An Boam El Eretz No Shavas, until they actually entered into the land. Says Rashi, Me'ever HaYarden Ve'elach. Once they crossed the Yarden and on, says Rashi, Shi Chashuva Me'eretz Sichin Ve'oig. That's considered Chashuv to like the land from Eretz Sichin and Og. Kidashkan B'Moshe Shaya Mis'av L'Chanis L'Vikar L'Taiva. Okay, so it says Ad Boam Boyim El Eretz Noshaves. As Haman Achu, they ate the man. Ad Boam El Katsei Eretz Canaan. They ate until they entered the Katsei Eretz Canaan. Now, this pasuk is challenging. It says Rashi, Katsei Eretz Canaan, the edge is Be'arvas Moav, Shisham Meis Moshe. That's where Moshe died. Shehi Eretz Ha'amori, Val Svasa Yarden, Shehu Katsei Knisas Eretz Canaan. So it says that they ate the man until they actually went into the land, and then it says to the edge of Eretz Canaan. So it sounds like a stira. So you can't read that once that they ate man until they went in there. Only up to the edge. You can't say to the edge. So basically, it's saying there's a steer in the pasuk. So this is how you understand it. We know on the 40th year, Moshe Rabbeinu died, and it was on the 7th day of Adar, which is pretty close to when we actually entered and crossed the Yarden, a month later. Because when Moshe died, Upasik Mon Milarid, the month stopped immediately then. That was it. There was no more Mon. Because it was in his schus. V'hayu mistapkin mimon shebekalehin. However, even though usually the Mon would rot, it wouldn't last. However, this did last. They were able to put their Mon leftovers in vessels on Shishas ben Nisan until the 16th day of Nisan, which means basically for 40 days it lasted. Tani Idach, so that's what it was. So therefore, the Mon did stop falling at the Kitsei Eretz Canaan, which is by Armos Moab, where Moshe died, but they still ate. But it says, fine, they ate it, and it says Ad Boam el Kitsei Eretz Canaan means that's where the Mon stopped falling, but they continued eating it. So Ad Boam el Eretz Shavas. So they continued to eat it for another month until the 16th of Nisan, which is again the day after Pesach. So therefore, it says that they would start eating Mimacharas Pesach because that's when the Mon was finished. So the day after Pesach, they had no more Mon. Tiny Idach. V'neiso achos aman arbaim shana. V'chir arbaim shana achlu v'arbaim shana chaser shloishim yoyim achlu. Which is an interesting question because we understand that again Moshe died and that was it. So how can you possibly say it was 40 years? It was 40 years. It was 39 years and 330 days. Usually the Gemara rounds up. So even though you would maybe say it's not such a strong kasha, but nonetheless, it's not true. It wasn't 40 years. But we want to be exact. Ugos shehotziu mimitzrayim tamahem tamon. So there was actually cakes or dough of matzah that actually had the taste of mon. Says Rashi. Shestabku me'ugos shehoitzim mimitzrayim. Fine. So the dough of the matzah was eaten for the first 30 days upon leaving Mitzrayim. So according to this pshat, it was 40 years, but the first 30 days they didn't actually eat mun. The first 30 days they were eating from the food that they brought out. And then Rashi says, therefore, it was 30 days after Nisan, the month after Nisan is Iyar. So it's Beshish Aser Be'ir Haman Hiskil Le'Raid. So the Mun actually only began to fall on the 16th day of Iyar. Okay. Which I think is question 3. Me'eza Tarich. What's the date? Ad Eza Tarich Yerid Haman Yisrael. So how long did it last? From the 16th of Iyar in the first year until the 7th of Adar in the 40th year. So those are the exact dates. Okay, because the first 30 days, they ate the food that they brought out of Mitzrayim. Okay. Shahoitz Mitzrayim Tomahem Tamon. Tani Idach. B'Shiva B'Adar, in the 7th of Adar, Meis Moshe. B'Shiva B'Adar Nolan. We also know that he was born on the 7th of Adar. Menayin Shib'Shiva B'Adar Meis Moshe. How do we know that he died on the 7th? Shnemer, it says, V'yom Hashem Moshe Eved Hashem, he died. Uksiv, and it also says, V'yivchu b'nei Yisrael es Moshe b'Arvas Moav Shloshim Yom. They cried for 30 days. Uksiv v'hiachri Moshe Eved Hashem. After the passing, this is the beginning of Sefer Yeshua, Uksiv Moshe Avdi Mace, he died. Yaton now, Kum Abor, now the time has passed of your mourning period, of mourning for Moshe. Now it's time for you to cross the Yarden. Uksiv, Ibru b'ker b'machan v'tzavas ha'am le'mor, Tachinu lachem seda, prepare provisions. Kiboit shloishes yomim tavras Yarden. In 3 days, you're going to cross the Yarden. Yuksiv v'am olam in ha'Yarden be'esel l'chaydish harisha. We know that the Jewish people crossed the Yarden, entered Eretz Yisrael on the 10th day of the month of Nisan. Say mehen. So you can derive shloishim is shloisha yomim l'mafreya. 33 days backwards. It was 3 days that they were preparing for the crossing. So it was on the 7th day of Nisan that they were told to prepare everything, because in 3 days you're going to cross the Yarden, which is on the 10th. And then a month before that is the 7th of Adar. And on the 7th day of Adar, therefore, must be the day he died. So it's interesting. It doesn't say anywhere in the Torah when he died. It doesn't say where he died. Again, the only way you can figure out when he died is only through this drasha. It doesn't say that he was born on the 7th of Adar. How do we know? I'm 120 years old today. Let's say today. That Hashem always prepares the tzaddikim that they should live a full life, a complete life. And that's shown by a person dying on their birthday. Not the greatest birthday present, but again, a person says Ad 120 Shana, which means that he lived an entire, full, complete 120 years. Shenamar es mispar yomecha amali, the days, the counting of your days I will fill. So, therefore, it's understood it must be he literally died 120 years later, but it must be on the 7th of Adar. It's interesting to point out he was born prematurely, 3 months earlier than he was supposed to. 3 months after after Adar, you have Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, 7th of, or maybe the 6th of Sivan, which is Shavuos. It's very interesting. On some level, Moshe, who embodies Torah, he actually was supposed to be born on Shavuos, but he was born 3 months prematurely, which was the whole reason why he was able to be hidden for 3 months, because the Mitzrayim were going to kill all the babies, and that's what happened. Tanya, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai Yomer, he says the following: Sholosh mitzvahs nitztav Yisrael b'chnisas haaretz. There's 3 mitzvahs that were given to the Klal Yisrael when they entered Eretz Yisrael. Rashi says what they are right out of the gun: Chadash, Arla, and Kilayim, which is basically what our Mishnah in yesterday's daf mentioned. Those 3 cases. But Nohagas ben Boris ben b'chutz la'aretz, and he holds it's not even in chutz la'aretz. So that's not much of a chiddush when it comes to Arla and Kilayim. But Chadash is a machlokis in our Mishnah. So the fact that he says Chadash, and it's questionable who says what, who holds that Chadash was noyig b'chutz la'aretz, whether it's l'kul or l'chumra. We ended up saying it's really Rabbi Lezer's l'chumra, which means he's really paskening. He's Rabbi Lezer's l'chumra in that it's also noyig b'chutz la'aretz. So he's paskening like him. V'huadin shein hagu. This is how we should accustom ourselves. Okay. Says Rashi, HaChadash meforish boy Moshe v'ksaver kol makom shatim yashim mashma barbikulam mekabel. So it's obvious that that's what the din should be. You should be chayav in those 2 other mitzvos, and also the bigger chiddush is Chadash, that when it says Moshe, it means anywhere you are. Now Chadash in itself is not an Isser Oilam. Rather, once the 16th day of Nisan comes, because this is at Etzem Yom Hazeh, then you're allowed to eat it. So it's like a Devash Matirin. Vein Isiru Isser Hana. There's no Isser Hana, says Rashi. It quotes the Gemara in Menachos, Kaitzel Shachas Umaychel Behemo, that you can cut it as Shachas while it is undeveloped. Shachas is usually 1/3 growth, and you can feed it to your animals. Now, Chadash you're not supposed to eat yourself, but you can feed it to your animals, which means Mota Bahana. Yesh Hetel Isurai. What does that mean? So Rashi says, Uviyom Shisha Aser Atzmo Isuru Mutter. Yimesh Omer Karev. That even on the same day, it sounds similar to Devash Matirin, but on the very same day where it was Aser, it becomes Mutter. There's Heter in its Isser. On the same day of it being Aser, once you're Makrib the Omer, it's Mutter. Noig ben Bart ben B'chutzlar, so Kilayim. She is Sur and Isur Oil. Kilayim, forbidden mixtures are forever Aser. That's it. And not only that, Isur and Isur Hana. If you have Kilayim, it's Aser B'Hana, because it says Tikdash, which is a lashon of Hektish. Rashi says, Vein Hetel Isurin. Obviously, it can never become Mutter, because it's Aser Oilam. So, Eno Din, Shin Hagu ben Bart ben B'chutzlar. So certainly when it comes to Kilayim, should be Noig even the Chutzarts, because we're so strict. So too, when it comes to Arla, regarding two things. What's that? What are the two of the three? So Rashi says, Afa Arla ba b'kavachimer. Zeh mishnei hoichachais. Afa gav sheshlishi in ba shein isur oilam. It's not isur oilam because it becomes mutter after 3 years, right? So, but nonetheless, it is asur b'hana. The ein lo heter b'toich yimei suro, and it doesn't become mutter on that same day when it's asur. It's only after, again, the full 3 years. So he warns out for him this kavachimer. Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon Omer, as we continue the Lamed Chesamid base, he says as follows: Kol mitzvah shenitztav Yisrael koydem b'chinisas l'Eretz. Any mitzvah in which Klal Yisrael had to do, performed before they entered Eretz Yisrael, nohegas ben b'aretz ben b'chutz la'aretz, because obviously it's connected. Ben nohegas ben b'aretz ben b'chutz la'aretz. Le'achar chinisas. Fine. So what is that? Again, since you had to do a mitzvah before, whatever that mitzvah is, if you can find a mitzvah that the Klal Yisrael had to do before they entered Eretz Yisrael, like when in the desert, so that mitzvah obviously is not connected to Eretz Yisrael because it was already given to us before we were in Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, it's noig even in Chutz La'aretz. L'achar k'nasa l'Aretz. Let's say it was only given after we entered Eretz Yisrael, then eino nohegas el ba'aretz. It's not going to be noig except for Eretz Yisrael. Why did the mitzvah? Why was it only introduced once we entered Eretz Yisrael? It must be because it's noig dafka in Eretz Yisrael. Chutz min hashmatos ksafim v'shiluach avodim, with the exception of shmitas ksafim on the 7th year. In addition to not being able to work your land in Eretz Yisrael, there's a din of shmitas ksafim. They're not allowed to collect loans. There's a din of lo yigois, and there's a din that you're not allowed, if someone owes you money, that's it. You don't collect the money anymore. Of course, there's a prusbul, but that's a whole other matter. And also sending away slaves. What's that? Even though that was only brought up, these mitzvos, once we enter Eretz Yisrael, for some reason, those two are exceptions, that they're still noig in Chutz La'aretz, these two dinim. So Shmitas Ksafim, not Shmitas Karka, but Shmitas Ksafim is noig also in Chutz La'aretz. So Gemara says like this: Hashmatas Ksafim chayvus agofi. I don't understand. Shmatas Ksafim. Okay, it's noig b'chutz la'aretz. Of course, it's noig b'chutz la'aretz. It's a chayv on your chayvus aguf. It has nothing to do with the land. So why would you think that it's not noig b'chutz la'aretz? Well, nitzrucha elo l'chnesan. Needed for the following. The sign Rabbi Yomi, the pasuk says v'zeh divar shmita shamait. So why does it say it in this language? It's b'shtei shmitos akasam adaber, because it's telling us on the Shemitah year there's two seemingly unrelated but yet connected elements of Shemitah. Achas Shmitas Karka, v'achas Shmitas Ksafim. Not working the land and also not collecting loans. So Mizman, you would think, Mizman Shiatam Mishamid Karka, Atam Mishamid Ksafim, that they're linked. If there's a place in which there's a din of Shmitas Aretz, there's also a din of Shmitas Ksafim. Mizman Shiatam Mishamid Karka, Iatam Mishamid Ksafim. However, if there's no place, there's a location where there's no din of Shmitas Karka, let's say in Chutz La'aretz, so then maybe there's also no din of Shmitas Ksafim. So the Ema, and you would say, B'makam Shiatam Mishamid Karka Tam Mishamid Ksafim. Maybe in the place, B'makam Shein Atam Mishamid Karka and Atam Mishamid Ksafim, Talmud Leimer Kikar Shmita Hashem Mikol Makoim. The fact that it says Kikar Shmita Hashem, so the drasha is that's Mikol Makoim, that takes place everywhere. So therefore, you would maybe think that Shmitas Ksafim doesn't apply. So therefore, that's the reason why, because it's linked to Shmitas Aretz, even though it is a chayvus aguf, doesn't make any difference. You would still maybe think it's potter because it's connected to Shmitas Karka. Okay. We find that a lot of times, for example, when it comes to chametz and matzah, we saw previously in this Masechta, that really, when it comes to achilas matzah, that's a mitzvah saseh shazman groma, so maybe women are potter, but since there's a chiyuv of them of not eating chametz, so since they're mechuyev in lo soichel chametz, they're also mechuyev in toichel matzahs. So sometimes you see there are links between two separate mitzvos that obligates one to the other, even though it goes against the general rule. Okay. So how about the second one? Shiluch avadim. We said sending away your slaves, that is nohig even the chutzlaretz, even though it wasn't introduced until we actually entered Eretz Yisrael. So again, same question. You would think that you shall call dror, like a bird is called dror, means it's a free bird. Dror ba'aretz, that there should be freedom in the land, which is also in the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia. Ba'aretz in, b'chutzlaretz lo. You would think, since it says ba'aretz, you would think all the dinim that pertain to Yovel is dafkin Eretz Yisrael, including sending away your slaves. And therefore, maybe when it comes to sending away your slaves in chutzlaretz, it's not noig. Talmud Leimer Yovel he mikol makon. So even came out Talmud Leimer ba'aretz. So then why does it say ba'aretz? It sounds like, again, you would maybe think it's pretty clear, only in Eretz Yisrael. So how can we need another pasuk to counter ba'aretz? Don't have the word ba'aretz, and you would never have that havamina. So it just telling to tell you, Bizman sheha dror noig ba'aretz noig b'chutzlaretz. A time when Bizman yovel, which is noig in Eretz Yisrael, it's noig b'chutzlaretz. Ein dror noig ba'aretz, ein noig b'chutzlaretz. So we're actually saying the din is that in order for the mitzvah of shiluach avadim to take place, there has to be something going on in Eretz Yisrael. There has to be a din of keeping Yovel in Eretz Yisrael. So if there's no din of keeping Yovel in Eretz Yisrael, then there's no shiluach avadim in Chutz La'aretz. That's what it's coming to tell you. Tanan Hassel. Okay. Let's maybe question 4. Eizem mitzvah ein noheges b'chutz la'aretz el im noheges ba'aretz. Right, so that's shiluach avadim. Okay. Good. Tanan Hassel. So we learned over there in Arla, Hachadash aser min Torah b'chol makom. So when it comes to Chadash, it's aser from the Torah in all places, no matter where you are. Rashi says because Moshe means kol makom shatim yoshem asher, no matter where you are. Arla that's Chadash. Arla is a halacha. We'll see what that means. That kilayim medivri seifrim. Right? Rashi quotes this before. And kilayim, the forbidden mixtures, is apparently it's midrabanan. So my halacha, what does that mean? So Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, hilchasa medina. Actually, it doesn't mean it's like a halacha Moshe Sinai. Rather, hilchasa medina. Rashi says, hinhiguhu heim aleihim b'chutzaretz. It's just a tradition. It's a custom that the Rabbanan instituted that we should keep the dinim of Arla in Chutz. Not that it's a halacha Moshe Sinai, it's in the Raisa. No, it's a hilchasa medina. Ul oimer Rabbi Yochanan halacha Moshe Sinai. No. It's actually halacha Moshe Sinai. So that's obviously a huge difference, whether it's saying that the din of Arl and Chutz La'aretz is a din deraisa, it's a halacha Moshe Sinai, or is it actually just a hilchas medina, again, that we're just noyig to accustom ourselves to not partake of Arla and Chutz La'aretz. Amalei Ula Rabbi Yehuda. So Ula said to Rabbi Yehuda as follows: Bishul Madidi, good according to me, I mean halacha Moshe Sinai. That I'm saying that the din of Arla and Chutz La'aretz is mamish a huge chiyuv. It's a halacha from Moshe, given from Moshe Rabbeinu to Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai. Hainu d'shani ben Safik Arla Safik Kilayim. That's why we make a distinction between Safik Arla and Safik Kilayim. Did not Safik Arla b'aretz. When it comes to Safik Arla in Eretz Yisrael, because we don't know this fruit, is it Arla, is it not? Aser. We're very, very strict. B'Suria, in Syria, let's go to Rashi right away. He around Sova, Shekavesh David. This is a place in which David HaMelech conquered, and Rashi quotes, according to this Gemara, V'ksaver kibush yachid l'shmi kibush. That normally we say that if there's conquering, it's part of now Eretz Yisrael, and therefore it takes upon itself the dinim of Eretz Yisrael. However, if it's a kibush yachid, if it's an individual like David HaMelech who conquered it, that doesn't count. Hilkach sveiko mutter. Therefore, in Syria, we say, in Syria, that land is mutter. That if there's a suffix of Arla, we're not strict. And Rashi quotes, L'kaman parchinan, later in tomorrow's daf, we'll ask, V'i halacha Moshe Sinai he, if it's a halacha Moshe Sinai, b'chutz la'aretz heich mekel, b'sveika, how could you be lenient, as we're going to see, in chutz la'aretz, Mishanin and ema kach, nemra halacha sveika mutter b'chutz la'aretz vade aser. Okay, so we're going to change it around and say that nemra halacha sveika is mutter b'chutz la'aretz vade aser. Okay. So let's go back in the Gemara. So again, Surya is mutter because it's not Eretz Yisrael. However, it's yard v'loy keach. So if you can go down, says Rashi, derachik tfei v'lo machalef. Since you're in Chutz La'aretz, which is very far away, and a person's not going to get confused and make mistakes, you can go down and you can take this arla and you can sell it basically. Uvad shelo yirenu loiket. You can't actually see them taking it. Says Rashi, Uvad shelo yirena. Yisrael shehu loiket min arla. If they take the suffix arla, we don't see it. The sign el b'Surya mutter. In Surya it's allowed. Kishiyilkat kfar was already gathered. In Surya we don't allow you to even do that. So again, according to this, Surya is not that it's mutter and we're very lenient because it's closer to Eretz Yisrael, but it's actually, when it says it's mutter, it means it's only mutter if it was already done. But we're not going to tell someone to go down and cut it off. However, when it comes to Chutz La'aretz, we'll even allow you to do that. That's when it comes to Arla. So we see by Arla this din. However, when it comes to the dinim of kilayim, of forbidden mixtures, Tanan, Kerem Hanatua Yarak. Let's say you have a vineyard in which you planted vegetables among those grapes. That's considered to be Klaya Kerem, which is a big no-no. The Yarak Nimchar Chutzalo, and these vegetables were sold outside, and we're afraid that maybe that it's from these vegetables that were grown from the vineyard. Basically, we're talking about a case of Safek Kilayim. So B'aretz Aser. So when again, when it comes to Safek Arla and Safek Kilayim in Eretz Yisrael, it's the same thing. It's also Surya mutter. So in Surya we say again it's mutter. That doesn't mean it's mutter. It means if it was already done, we're not going to allow you to do anything because you're so close. But here's the key: B'chutz La'aretz yarid v'loiket. You can actually go down and gather it. Uvad shel yilkait biyad, provided that the Yisrael doesn't gather it with his own hands. So let's look at Rashi. Hachaver atzmo biyad. Dim isa de arla b'chutz la'aretz divrei seifrim. If it's true that arla is only divrei seifrim, very very lenient then. V'lo halacha Moshe, it's not a din deraisa. Maishna de achmer safik arla m'safik karlayim. Why are we more strict when it comes to Safek Arla than Safek Kilayim? Safek Kilayim in Chutz La'aretz, we say you can be Yored V'loiket. When it comes to Safek Arla in Chutz La'aretz, we said Yored V'loikech Uvad Shel Lo Yored V'loiket. So why is it that we're more strict? Of course, you can say that sometimes we're more strict on Dini D'Rabbanan than D'Oraisa. Okay, but nonetheless, this is how he's framing the kasha. Or his proof. It must be that I'm correct that Arla is a din deraisa. It's Allah Moshe Sinai, because otherwise, why are we so strict when it comes to the laws of Arla? And you can see when it comes to Safek Arla in comparison to the Safek Kilayim, which is deraisa. So why is it that why are we more strict by Arla than Safek Kilayim? Like, I guess you could ask that anyway, because if they're both deraisa, so why would they should have the same din? Okay. Anyway, so that's the thought process. Eladi doch, as we continue to Lamed Tesamad Aleph, Nisni o zevazeh yord v'loikeach, o zevazeh yord v'loiket. According to you, it should be the same, right? The fact that you hold it's a din d'Rabbanan, at the very least, you should say that the dinim are the same, that Safek Kalayim. So Ha'imr le Shmuel Rabbanan Tani, you should write, insert According to you, you're right. It could have two different dinim, and maybe that will prove that Arl is strict. It's a din deraisa, l'chamash b'sinai. But according to us, you're right. You have to amend it a little bit. Marbari d'Ravno masni la'lakula. Zev is a yard v'loikate, that you can go and gather it. Avad shelo yilkad biyad, don't do your Yisrael. The Yisrael should not gather it with his own hands. Armalei levi l'shmuel. So he said, Aryach Safek li. Regarding Arla, I made it a doubt. Why? V'ana echel. But then I'll eat it. So even though when it comes to Suffolk Arla, says Rashi, sapically rather, make it a doubt, says Rashi, lakoit and gather, shalofane, not in front of me, shall Suffolk etzli, will remain a doubt, yona echel of Arla koi. So again, we're talking about Arla, so he's lenient when it comes to Arla. Rav Avia Barabba Barav Hanan Misapku Sefuki Hadadi. They used to do this among each other. So basically, again, how is it possible that they could say this? It must be because when it comes to Arla, or the din of Arla and Chutzlarts, may not necessarily be Halachah Moshe Sinai, because otherwise, how could they be so lenient? Okay, we'll stop there. We'll continue with the din of Arla tomorrow's daf. It's interesting, Lamed Ches and Lamed Tes. Loikeach, locate. Okay. All right. TA 5. Lamed Ches and Beis. L'inyan ma makshina and shmitas ksafim l'shmitas karka. How do we connect them? That it's only she'enu hegus bizman hazeh, hainu bizman she'en mishamit. It's only noig when there is a din of yovel, so there's no yovel b'zman hazeh, so therefore it's not noig shmitas ksafim. L'inyan ma enu makshinan, that it's also still noig b'chutzar. The shmitas ksafim is still noig b'chutzar. That's TA 5. So put this here, TA 5. So let's see. Mishamit ksafim emamurat ki kikar shmita Hashem mikol makayim. So when it comes to shmitas ksafim, it's not noig b'zman hazeh. However, it is noig b'chutzarts. Alpha pishin et stavu, when we put this shmitas ksafim. Alpha pishin et stavu lehem lachik nosam lachar aretz nevegas bein aretz bein b'chutzarts. Okay, so therefore, even though shmitas ksafim, shmitas karka in a certain way are linked, however, that's only regard to b'zman hazeh. There's no shmitas ksafim. Because there's no in chutzarts, because there's no shmitas karka. However, when it is noig in Eretz Yisrael, so then the din does apply. Question TB5: Matai b'shana harishona? When in the first year hiskil hamon lered loredes Yisrael? When did it start falling? So this was really only found in Rashi, which is on the 16th day of the month of Iyar, TB6. And Umatai Pasig Mliarid B'Shana Harishayna, which is again the exact same question, which of course is the 7th of Adar. Adkan.